lined up the top stars from Hollywood and from all over the world to entertain you on a giant screen with the few colorful motion pictures you've been hearing about and reading
It's
about.
showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We're delighted to have you with us. They're driving theater.
You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment.
Is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
What's up, boys and girls? You're tuned into the Drive-In Speakerbox. It's another Monday night. It's Labor Day. Labor Day, actual day? Labor Day proper?
Hey.
We're up here. We're spending our Labor Day with you guys.
Yeah. Is my mic dead? Did you turn me on?
You're right there.
Am I there?
Yeah.
I'm here.
There
Okay.
you go. But yeah, we're back. I'm your host, Bo, the boom operator.
I'm Jake, the grip slick doggy.
Slick doggy in the house. And we went and saw movies. That's what we do. We're going to talk to you about movies. We're going to talk to you about what's going on in Hollywood and film and TV and all that fun stuff. And so if you are joining us with your Labor Day, entrusting us with your Labor Day, we thank you. We saw Shang-Chi over the weekend.
Shang-Chi.
Yes.
Shang-Chi.
That is
Shang-Chi.
correct, as the so poignant scene in the movie tried to educate not just Aquafina but the viewers at home how to pronounce the real pronunciation of that name. But we're going to be talking about that later in the show. And then we're going to cover some news. Apologies first, because I'm running the fan in the background. I mean, I think it's just me, the audio guy, that's going to be like, "Oh man, can you hear that fan?" But it's hot in here today.
A little less spicy temperature-wise, yeah.
Because another thing, tying it back to movies, that audio guys always do when you start filming is they turn the air conditioner off. If you're making a short film, if you're out there thinking about wanting to make a short film, and you wonder why your audio always sounds like crap, turn your air conditioner off. Turn off the refrigerators. Turn off the freezers. Turn off all of those things that kind of you as a human being forget and make a lot of noise because they're just a part of the white noise of your day. It's amazing how when you were listening to that or watching a movie and you hear all this racket in the background, all that stuff comes through. It's in there. You can hear it, but you may not hear this, but it drives me nuts. But I'll fix it in post. We'll see. Even though post for me is like 2 seconds. Anyway, so yeah, let's get into some news. You only saw that film. You didn't see anything else, did you, Jake?
No. Only watched, Shang-Chi.
Well, did you see the trailer for the new Red Notice?
I did watch that trailer.
Well, you do love you some Dwayne Johnson. What do you think about that trailer? How'd that make you feel? It's the new cat and mouse sort of, very predictable Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson and Gal Gadot team up.
It's like a Dirty Rotten Scoundrels mixed with a buddy cop mixed with
Heist.
Yeah.
Heist, buddy cop, Baroonie.
I don't know.
I mean,
it seemed like there was a lot going on.
It seemed like it was a product of what the people want. It's just like giving the people what they want. They go, let's get more of Dwayne Johnson being lovable Dwayne Johnson. Let's give more Gal Gadot being the sarcastic straight man, and then having more Ryan Reynolds being like,
I mean, I can see The Rock and Ryan Reynolds in a movie together because they're both established comedic actors, and they are larger than life personalities and things. I just don't see Gal Gadot fitting in as well.
Well, I mean, everybody's looking at her like, some of her quick and witty comebacks from Wonder Woman. It's like, you got to.
How many takes did it?
Well, all of them. Who knows? I don't know. But she does. She doesn't strike me either as like the comedic chops of these two. But you got to have a straight guy. You got to have the straight one. That's that they bounce the jokes off of.
Sure.
It's an important skill in comedy.
Yeah, I don't know if I would pick her for a comedy.
That's exactly why they picked her for a comedy. Well, anyway, that trailer's out there. It looks pretty paint by numbers. Nothing special, nothing new. But what is kind of special and new is the film festival circuits have started, and people have seen Dune. There are early reviews coming out of Dune, if you guys have not been keeping up with those. A lot of mixed reviews. The idiot that writes for Vanity Fair, like he watches our show, but if you do, you're an idiot. He wrote a just terrible review of this, and it read like a dude that has maybe, I don't know, maybe like turned 20 yesterday and never heard of Dune and never watched movies. Like, I don't know. I had to go dig down into this guy's. He was just like, it feels like they're just trying to rip off Game of Thrones. And I'm like, you realize that Dune was written decades before Game of Thrones was even thought about? Like, come on, what are you talking about, dude? But it'll be interesting to see how this movie comes out. I've also read a lot of good reviews. I don't really trust reviews. It's one of those things that I always wait till, I like to see it and then I read reviews after I've already watched the movie. I never like to read reviews beforehand. But Dune's a little bit something different because it's big, it's epic. It's not just one. I mean, we're getting part one. That was another part of his complaint. It's like, it's part one. It's like leaving me hanging. I was like, well, yeah, like they go fix the errors that the previous film had. And I was like, you probably didn't watch the original films. And number two, part of the error is that they tried to put it all in one movie, and you can't do that.
Right.
You can't do that. So
what's his name? Villeneuve. He was like, oh, I want to do it all. I want to do the whole story. And that was the thing, is the studio wanted to break it into more than one movie, and he didn't want it. And it looks like the studio got what they wanted.
Yeah.
Because the actors like Momoa and stuff like that have already asked to release the Villeneuve cut.
Release the cut. I like how after Zack Snyder did it, that is like the battle cry of everybody now. It's like, release the director's cut, release the cut. And remember, that was only like a bonus feature on DVDs. Like you could get the director's cut on DVD and
for an extra $1 or whatever.
Yeah, or it was usually their way of getting DVD sales like boosted again. But, we'll see. There's going to be a director's cut eventually, even if it's on Blu-ray or something like that. What's going on in the comments? There are a lot of chatter there. Everybody's excited about Dune. Bottle Rocket's excited about Dune.
Yeah, I mean, everything I saw said that every review for it was positive.
Yeah.
Like, there's no negative reviews for it, really.
I think that, he makes great movies. J.I. says, agreed to Sam's comment, like Dark Phoenix should have never been in one movie or any movie for that matter. Also agreed. The Dark Phoenix story is not something that people are ready for yet.
Well, and they didn't establish any of the X-Men powerful enough to take on a force like Dark Phoenix, so it didn't make sense. And movies where they're all
didn't she get her
underpowered
power from like the Shi'ar Empire or whatever?
No, the way the movie did it was pretty good. I mean, she got it from like a solar flare type thing. That's how it was in the animated series in the comics, and that's how they did it in that movie. So, fair.
Yeah.
But the rest of it with the aliens that
Me. Vince was saying that one reviewer he was reading was constantly complaining about COVID because his traveling to film festivals was slightly hampered. These are some of these film reviewers. Like these film reviewers, man, I don't know what about connoisseurship turns you into a big old snob. Like, I know that we probably snob out from time to time on several things, but I also like to think that we stay grounded or at least actively try to stay grounded. And I think another one of those reasons is we'll watch pretty much anything. And that's, I think, the hallmark of a good reviewer. It's like you're going to go out and you'll probably have to sit through Paw Patrol at some point in your life, and you'll do it. And, you might not just make that choice of I'm going to go watch this or I'm going to go watch Paw Patrol. But if duty calls, then view duty.
Like us, we both went and watched a Marvel movie, and you know how we feel about Marvel movies.
And you're going to find out just how we feel about this Marvel movie.
They drew me in with Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, and Tony Leung, dude. Well, we'll talk about that. There was a movie in a movie, and that was the legend of. But anyway, more of that later. What else do we got going on in the news? Oh, there was a death recently, very recently. Sad death. Michael K. Williams, most people remember him from The Wire, but other people remember him as always like the skeezy dude that's like the arms dealer or the drug dealer or the something dealer. But he has done had an amazing career from a pretty interesting upbringing. He was in 12 Years a Slave. He was in Boardwalk Empire as Chalky. He has been in...
Recently, he was in Lovecraft Country.
Country. He was in that film that came out in 2020 called Arkansas, for those of you that are Arkansas people. He's just been in so many things throughout the years. He started acting in the early 90s, but he passed away mysteriously. I don't think they've released what it was, but he was found in his apartment.
The article I was reading, just said they found him dead.
At age 54. So,
young.
I think he was another one that was only in the past, 8-9 years was he really getting all of the accolades that he has really deserved, and he was starting to get more and more and more roles as he had matured as kind of a noteworthy icon in Hollywood, and sad to see his passing. See, over in the comments, Vince is over there. Good call, Vince, mentioning that it's September out there for anybody that's viewing us on Twitch. If you're watching the live stream over on Twitch, or if you're listening to a podcast recording later, you can remember to check us out on your live streaming so you can participate in the chat that is live. We don't edit the show. We F it and we do it live. We Bill O'Reilly this thing. But September means subs and gift subs are only 20% off for the whole month. Mm-hmm. So, if you do that, that'll be awesome. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can always give us a free Prime sub over there at, you get one free for Amazon Prime Gaming. I think you just have to activate it.
You just have to have Prime. It has nothing to do with gaming.
But do you have to activate it through gaming?
Nope.
Oh, so if you just have Amazon Prime, you get a free one. Check it out.
You just have to link your Twitch and your Prime account.
There you go.
Yep.
Boom.
Easy.
Boom, boom, boom.
And it's super easy because Amazon owns Twitch, so it's not difficult at all.
And Timbo Sippy over there in the comments says he gave his Prime sub to some chick who's licking microphones ASMR right now. JK. But yeah, you could just be like, sounds like wet macaroni.
Yeah, hey, and thanks for your apology saying, definitely worth the sub.
Yeah.
You get some sick emotes.
You do get some sick emotes. And honestly, I think we're a little more fun than watching some silent person thank everybody for likes while playing a video game. You know what I mean? I think we're more fun than that.
Well, sometimes we do play video games, but we talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. September, pretty cool. We appreciate those subs. And if you're over on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and like, share, get the word out, because the more people that watch this show, the more we're able to do this show, and the more passion it gives us to do this show, and all of those fun things about being a creator. What else going on in the news? Not a whole lot. Labor Day weekend is a pretty normally quiet weekend in Hollywood, which has made interesting news because of the new Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings film pretty much kicking down box office records for Labor Day weekend. And that it's interesting for two reasons. Number one, Labor Day weekend is always a notoriously slow weekend. Most movies don't even get released on Labor Day weekend, which was really weird that Marvel decided, hey, we're going to release an MCU film on Labor Day weekend. But they're like, hey, times are different, COVID's different, we're not going to do it on streaming. If people are going to be going out, let's do an experiment here. And boy, howdy, did it work. The previous record was set by Halloween in 2015, 17, whatever that one was. And it only had 30 million at the box office. This film came in with 90 at the end of the holiday weekend. It was 75 as of yesterday, or just the regular weekend.
Well, I went and watched it today. I did it this afternoon since I had the day to do so instead of trying to force it yesterday. And the parking lot was completely full all the way to the back lots, at our local Malco theater.
You went to go see it at the Malco, huh?
They had better time offerings than AMC, unfortunately, because AMC's shows started at 4. Yeah.
Well,
but they were open on Monday, so that's cool.
And the theater I went and saw was also equally as crowded, which was interesting to see. And I went on a Sunday afternoon, or no, when did I go? Yeah, Sunday at 4, I think. Yeah, Sunday afternoon matinee. It was busy. Usually those matinees are not busy. I'm often the only guy in the theater, but not the case here. And as evidence from the box office reports, one of the biggest Labor Day box office openings ever, and also right on the heels of one of the biggest COVID releases ever. But this one also. Analysts are predicting that it's going to have a little more staying power in the theater because it did not have the same on the same day release schedule as Black Widow did on Disney Plus. So this film, if you're gonna see it, you're gonna go see it in the theater. And the fact that it's getting pretty positive reviews from critics, I think, is gonna make people go out and see it in the theater. And I don't even have the box office reports from the China box office, because the Chinese film report, I haven't gotten it yet, but you've got two major Hong Kong superstars in this film. And I think that, what you see a lot when Hollywood films go overseas, if they have big names from those home countries, you start seeing a lot of huge international box office numbers. And I think that that's going to happen with this film. And I think that was the director's intention, to be very, very delicate with the storyline, to not sort of either pander to or upset the overseas markets, because right now there's a lot of money to be made, and that's the goal here. Don't forget, the Disney is not here about social justice. They're not here about changing the planet. They're here to sell tickets, and they're here to make monies. So don't forget that, but we'll talk about that later in the show.
Sure. Sam asked if I considered seeing AEW All Out in the theater. No, I haven't watched wrestling in a really long time. Actually, it's exceedingly difficult to watch if you don't have cable anymore, especially since I don't want to pay the $90 a month that Hulu Live cost. So I have not been watching a lot of wrestling. I did have a friend go see it, and he got to meet Billy Gunn, which is pretty cool. But talking about things that you get to see in theaters, hey, once again, think about Fathom events. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up. This next weekend, I already have my tickets to go watch the 35th anniversary of Labyrinth, which will be showing in the theater. I'm very excited about that. Happening this week, they're showing Backdraft, and a newer movie called Time Is Up. The Golden Girls is next week. I know Vince has been getting everyone.
We've been talking about
that.
this Golden Girls. It's like it's a big, huge.
It could be.
It could be. This is huge.
Yeah. So Vince,
huge.
thank you for being a friend. Appreciate that. Always letting everyone know on that one. Citizen Kane is showing up in the theaters on the 19th.
Now that'd be a really interesting. I don't think I've ever had a chance to see that on the big screen. It's a cultural artifact, American classic. It's heralded as one of the greatest movies of all time.
Right.
And that can be argued by today's standards, but I still think that when you put things into perspective of when they were made, yes, I think it still stands up as one of the greatest films ever.
It's not bad, for sure. Golden Girls will be repeating on the 21st in case you miss it this coming week, and then Citizen Kane again on the 22nd. But also, Carrie will be in the theater on 26th if you want to start getting in that Halloween mood.
They're all going to laugh at you!
Yeah. Transformers, the movie, is hitting the theaters shortly after that.
You got the touch.
If you want to watch Optimus just get straight murked.
You got the power.
But then hear a sick soundtrack. But then after that, coming October, man, we got the double feature monster movies opening up with Frankenstein and Dracula double feature, and then followed shortly by Spirited Away. You get some Evil Dead in the movie
coming
theater.
into the movie theater.
Scream is going to be in the movie theater in
now,
October.
That would be Scream, I think, as a re-release into movie theaters. One of the things that people, at the time, Scream was a big box office hit, but as it has aged, it has become such a sort of important milestone, cornerstone, if you will, to horror, because it just so encapsulated 90s and 90s horror.
25th anniversary, and you get to see it. Spirited Away. Silence of the Lambs is going to be in the theaters in October, so you can watch that. And then Ghibli's bringing it in with Howl's Moving Castle to end it out. And then you end the month with
Invisible
the
Man and Wolfman.
double feature of Invisible Man and Wolfman.
Dude, so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
And then November has a lot of good things. Ghibli stuff carries on. Paranorman, etc.
Fantastic film, Paranormal. If you've never seen it, Leica Studios knocking it out of the park.
But killer lineup for September and October Fathom events. I wish I wouldn't have announced all of it before I bought my Spirited Away tickets. So I may just go ahead and purchase some Spirited Away tickets right now before all of you beat me to it. But yeah, I'm super excited about Labyrinth, man.
A lot of good stuff coming out on Fathom events, and catching up in the comments there. Looks like Vern and who else was just saying? I think Sam over in the comments was like, Citizen Kane is so boring, more like Citizen Yawn. And I'm not gonna disagree. It's a boring film, but it's an important film, and it's a very interesting film, and it's one of those films that you should watch it more than once. Kind of like, I know this is a lot easier to digest pill, but Blade Runner, the first time anybody ever watches the original Blade Runner is usually kind of like,
okay. I was just thinking, I was like, man, there's some films that are considered really boring that I just absolutely love those movies.
Well, and Seven Samurai is another one of those movies.
Oh, there's nothing boring about Seven Samurai.
The first time you watch it and you're not prepared for a 3-hour like Akira Kurosawa samurai
epic. But there's
epic.
always something going on, and you got Mifune, bro. You have Mifune being comic relief.
Drunk dingling. Yeah. But anyway, that's the thing about some of these, classics. When people go and revisit classics, you have to kind of view them through a lens. You have to step back and, put yourself in a time period, put yourself in there's a lot more going on to some of these classic films than just like, was it a good movie? Because now, movies have been around for so long now that what makes a good movie anymore, and there's a lot of things that go into it. And I think as viewers get more tech savvy and get and understand what all goes into filmmaking, we can maybe as a people start to appreciate films a little bit differently. Well, if you just looked at the studio, like here, let me just show you like what goes into making the drive-in speaker box. We've got look at all of this just shit, just cameras and wires and all the stuff here in the studio that just goes into making this dumb show. So yeah, there's a movie magic to it all that once you kind of understand it, or if you've ever tried it yourself, like Bottle Rocket in the comments, which I want to have him on the show maybe in October, and might have some surprises. He just finished shooting his short film that helped him do audio with, and look to have him on the show. I actually have a couple of guests planned for October show to come and talk horror. I was talking to Cody Ford, who runs the Arkansas Cinema Society chapter here in Northwest Arkansas, having him come up, and Tyler Horn, who directed that short film that we were just talking about, have him come up and come up and visit us in the studio and talk horror in October. Would love to have Tyler and Levi come in here and talk horror. That'd be fun.
Sam just came in with the best comment. It's like I'm in Wayne's basement, but that's not Wayne's basement.
Exactly. Yeah, Vince said Jake will have to take the week off. He'll be too scared about all this horror stuff that we're talking about.
Come on, guy.
Hey, dude, his girlfriend has been twisting his arm into making him watch horror movies now. So I'm real proud of our boy Slick Doggy over here, watching some horror.
I watch horror movies, man. I watch Gremlins.
Are you afraid of the dark? I watch Gremlins. I watch Teddy Ruxpin's Halloween special. Like,
that's not horror.
It's not even a thing. I just made it up.
Purple People Eater. Chopping Mall.
That's okay. Anyway,
we were talking about Society recently.
That's such a good movie.
I've watched that nonsense. I watch horror, dude.
I've seen a horror.
I watch Nightmare
Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah, Ernest Scared Stupid's actually a terrifying movie.
Those little goblin trolls.
Oh, dude, the trolls are terrifying, bro. Like, it's straight up a for real scary movie.
Have you seen all the merchandise coming out with Cheddar Goblin? There's a whole line of merchandise coming out around Mandy, and like you can get like Nick Cage masks, but you can get these Cheddar Goblin. You can actually buy boxes of Cheddar Goblin mac and cheese and get little Cheddar Goblins. If you don't know what I'm talking about, YouTube search Cheddar Goblin, and it's a clip.
It was from Mandy.
It's from that movie. Yeah, it's like a short thing. It's kind of an add-on.
Was it a commercial on TV they were watching or something?
Cheddar Goblin. Yeah.
Okay, I remember. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty awesome.
You know what? I almost watched that Five Nights at Freddy's Nick Cage movie the other day.
Almost.
Yeah. Well,
I thought about watching A Scary Thing.
No,
but then I didn't.
Well, because it was like $7 or $8 on Xbox. No, I was gonna earn some Microsoft points, but then I decided not to spend money.
That reminded me of something else I was gonna say. But Sam in the comments asked if we like Dead Alive. Now, Dead Alive. Hey, thanks Vince for gifting a sub over to Timbo Sippy. Appreciate that gift.
Hey, cool, and yeah, to a friend of ours.
Yeah.
So that works out great.
So Dead Alive.
I like Dead Alive.
Dead Alive, if you don't like someone strapping a lawnmower to their chest and walking through a yard full of zombies,
or shoving a zombie baby into a blender,
then who are you even? No, Dead Alive's a classic. Dead Alive, Peter Jackson getting himself a huge name for himself, and back when he was just a up and comer.
What was it called outside of the U.S.? What was it? What was the real name of it?
Oh, I forget. I'm not in my Halloween brain right now, but yeah, Dead Alive, great movie. Other than something, before we get too far off the deep end into horror stuff, I wanted to. Brain Dead. Said Sam.
There it is. Yeah.
Did anybody check out these things that Adult Swim did? The live action Rick and Morty bumps.
I saw one where they come out of the portal.
So there's 2 or 3 out now. I've seen 2. And, of course, this is Christopher Lloyd as Rick and Jayden Martel as Morty. Clearly, Jayden Martel is only there to look like Morty. It's all the Christopher Lloyd.
Well, yeah, because it's like, he's based on the doc, and you have the doc.
And that's what's super funny about all the fan reactions is they're like, oh, man, Christopher Lloyd does a great job as Rick. And it's like, no. Rick does a great job as Christopher Lloyd. What are you talking about?
As a drunk Lloyd.
Rick is a parody of Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown. Like, how is everyone missing this metaphor that Rick and Morty is Back to the Future? Like, how is this fallen on deaf ears? But anyway, it's really great, seeing this full circle Christopher Lloyd coming in, and he nails it. I want to see more Christopher Lloyd as Rick. Like, come on, sign me up. Maybe less burping, but everything else.
But that's how the show is.
I know, but when in a cartoon it works, but in real life it just seems a little strange.
Yeah, but it's like a hallmark of the character.
But maybe if he was just drinking a flask. And I do want to hear Christopher Lloyd drop some fat, dirty F-bombs at Morty. Like, Christopher Lloyd cussing is just one of those things that I just want to see.
I just realized that Rick is kind of like Reverend Jim combined with Doc.
A little bit, yeah. I can see that. I could totally see that. But really cool bumps, and I think much like anything that's ever happened in the history of the internet, if enough people like it and are making a big deal about it, then they're going to do more of it. That's just how it works. It won't be just a limited time thing. Usually these limited time things are basically just secret test markets for all of us, and they're like, well, they liked it, let's do more before we invest a whole lot of it. And I think all that got started. You remember when April Fool's Day was fun and the internet was in its infancy and was not such like a cultural just incubator of hive mind, and companies' websites would be like, oh, look at this product we've got for April Fools, and it'd be something absolutely ridiculous. And I want to say it was thinkgeek.com maybe is one of the biggest websites that started doing this, but they would do April Fools products, and they would put it out there and actually allow people to add them to cart and get all the way to checkout. And they go, wait a second, people are really willing to go this far for these products? And so then there was a time where it was like, all right, if we get enough of these people, clicking on this stuff, then we'll actually put them into production. So you're reserving your place in line. And now it just happens. Now we're just like, here's some bananas product, add it to cart, and then we'll make it. And it's like Kickstarter was born and all this kind of stuff. And it's funny how the internet can produce these things. So I think we're gonna see more Christopher Lloyd as Rick. I think that's just what's gonna happen.
What a way to get to that point.
I know. Yeah, me and my soapboxes. Vince says, if anything, I would change one thing about Back to the Future is Marty would have a new name. What? You can't go Marty. Like, why? Why would you change Marty? It's such a good name to just yell and be angry at.
Yeah. Well,
it's
at the end of the
2 syllables.
At the end of the movie, she goes, Marty. What a nice name.
Yeah, it's written. It's not Calvin Klein. It's not Clint Eastwood. It's Marty. Marty McFly. Now, McFly's a weird last name, but it sounds cool coming out of a bully's mouth. McFly! You know, it's all about tonality. Anyway.
Sam pointed out that O'Reilly's does carry a flux capacitor on their website. You can't actually buy it. And I think the part number to look for, it's like 88 MPH or something like that.
Sick. All right. Okay, well, let's talk about what's coming out in theaters this week because it is a new week. We are always in this time of the show tell you about what's coming out. Not a whole lot is the answer because it's, again, we're going into kind of a sleepy period until October and we start seeing a lot more of these fall releases.
Well, and you got Marvel with a movie in the theater, and anytime Marvel pumps a movie out, it's going to scare everyone
backs
else off.
off.
Yeah.
But we do have the new film from director James Wan. Everybody knows James Wan because of every horror movie. You know, he's got this, all the Insidiouses and Saws and all this kind of stuff. But he's got a new one coming out. A story about Madison, paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities.
Yeah, but the worst part about it is the trailer makes it look like Paranormal Activity.
Yes, and
right.
The film's called Malignant, and I'm not sure if it's about a tumor or what.
Yeah, it's about an invisible friend that becomes evil and is like, or what are the imaginary friend?
Yeah.
That becomes evil and is real and tries to.
When are we going to see a Drop Dead Fred remake? Speaking of invisible. Or just, well, I mean, I just want to see more Drop Dead Fred. I don't think we can reassemble that cast right now, but I would love to see that. But, you know, I mean, James Wan, he's good at what he does. I think this will probably make a lot of money. You know, it doesn't scream to me as anything super original or super just like, let me add it. I want to see it. And that could be a product of the fact that James Wan is just maybe running out of ideas or getting, you know, he's gotten so big budget Hollywood that, you know, that kind of gritty, scrappy James Wan that put himself on the map is just, I don't know, maybe he's grown past that. I'm not sure, but that's pretty much the only movie coming out in theaters this week.
This is a new vision of horror.
They all
like
are.
Every one of them is, yeah.
They all are. But, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. We've had a horror movie coming out in theaters about every other week for the past 3 months. So this just feels like the next one to me. I don't know. I guess it's when Hollywood realized that, you know, low investment, high yield. Oh, horror does this every single time. Well, let's always be making a horror movie. And, you know, everybody loves a good horror movie. People are going to watch it just because horror movies are about the only movies that people will just blindly watch. They'll be like, you want to watch something scary? Okay, what's that? And then they'll click it. You know, and they'll just watch it because everybody gives horror movies a pass. They don't have to be good. They don't even have to be exciting. But if there's like some people that get killed and it's kind of funny, you can either like it and go, wow, that was really well done, or go, man, that was really stupid, but I love it. Like horror movies are really interesting that way. And when a movie like, say, Candyman comes out, like this last, you know, we talked about on the last show, where it kind of blends the two of just that fun, exciting mindlessness of a horror movie with something that's actually super thought-provoking and well directed, you're like, oh, wow, okay, horror is a legitimate genre. Yeah, there you go, Malignant. I don't think it's going to be that, but it's going to be a horror movie, and we're leading in October, and there you go. Vince says, for me, they have to be a little clever. Just blood and guts does not do it for me.
Yeah, I don't like gore at all. I don't like gore and jump scares, and I think that's where the idea that I don't like sitting through any kind of horror movie really comes from, is because I don't like that kind of stuff. But I'll watch some scary movies, guy.
So one of my friends last night, he was at home. He's like, "Bo, man, I'm feeling like watching a horror movie. You got any recommendations?" And I was like, and I thought about it for a second. I was like, "What are you in the mood for?" And I was thinking about, well, you always have to think. You can't just recommend movies, because he was like, first it wasn't horror. He's like, I just want to watch some old campy, fun, sci-fi, weird movie. And I was like,
Scared Stupid.
No, I said, duh, Ice Pirates. And you have to pay for it. It's not anywhere free streaming. So he was like, well, let's do horror. And I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking about what's on streaming. And then I thought about Creep. With Michael Duplass. And if you've never seen Creep, like, Creep is such a good indie horror just masterpiece, in my opinion. It's everything that Blair Witch wishes it could have been, but it's just two dudes and a camcorder, and you will be so uncomfortable.
And they made a second one.
Yeah, Creep 2. They're actually...
It's him and his brother, right?
Yeah, and they're still working on a third one. Of course, COVID got in the way, and they really want to do a good script. Same with Creep 2. Creep 2, they said, was really hard for them to make because they never intended on it to go past the first one, but everybody loved it so much that they just determined they had to make another one.
And you had a really positive review of it on the show.
Oh, yeah. I think I talked about it last year around October. I was talking about Creep 2. But it's and he watched it, and he was messaging me through the movie being like, why did you make me watch this? I'm about to have to go to sleep. This is so uncomfortable. I hate this. And then I vowed to find a Peach Fuzz mask and just wear it one day. And he's like, no. But if you watch Creep, that'll all make sense. But it's on streaming for free right now. So, and Vince says that he thinks he watched it based on my recommendation as well. And it's a good one. It's a really good one. And it's that good, gritty indie horror that I was talking about, where indie movies, like, sometimes they get too big. Like Quiet Place was another one of those that wasn't supposed to be such a box office smash and ended up being very, very good and very well thought out and being money.
We got viewers saying I need to watch Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers is good. Yeah, it's a great werewolf movie. Is that Neil Blomkamp, I think, did Dog Soldiers?
No,
Who directed?
Marshall.
Neil Marshall. Okay, Neil Marshall. Also, Neil Marshall directed the Battle of Blackwater in the Game of Thrones, one of the best episodes of Game of Thrones. But Dog Soldiers... really good movie about a bunch of military dudes and having to deal with werewolves where they all become werewolves, and it's a really good werewolf movie. Some good creature effects in there. Great
werewolf stuff.
Speaking of spooky stuff,
wow.
Hey Vince, cheering! Thanks for all the cheer bits. I need to make I need to make a new amateur animation for that.
You know what though? I've been watching What We Do in the Shadows TV show finally.
That's what I was going to talk about.
And season 3 just started.
Season 3 started this week, I believe. Yeah. And What We Do in the Shadows, September. It's out. You can check it out. I haven't started it because
it's the first 2 episodes. You can.
And it's on FX, and I think you can get it a day later or whatever on Hulu.
Yeah.
So What We Do in the Shadows, great horror comedy, super fun. Guillermo's the best, and then Jackie Daytona. Have you gotten to the Jackie Daytona episode yet?
No, is it the same actor that plays the
Laszlo? So it's Laszlo. He decides to flee because he's on the run. Somebody's trying to kill him, and he moves up to Montana or whatever, and gets a job as a local bartender. And he looks like the Sam Adams guy, and he's like, I'm Jackie Daytona, human bartender.
Is that a name from one of his?
It's Matt Berry.
BBC comedies that he does?
I don't think so. Pennsylvania. Thank you, Tim. I said Montana, but yeah, Pennsylvania. It's so good.
Because he plays a lot of wacky characters and
Jackie
stuff like
Daytona.
Toast of London and stuff like that. Yeah. No, the show's really good. We like the movie. We've talked about the movie many times. I hadn't watched the show yet, and I started watching it recently, and it's killer.
So the season 1, if you're a big fan of the movie and you start watching season 1 of the show,
shortly into it,
the problem with the first couple episodes, you're like, this is just the movie. But then after they get all the movie plot out of the way, then the show just opens up, and you're like, this is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So
but you get the energy vampire stuff is fun.
Oh, dude. Well, especially if you ever lived in like the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s when Vampire the Masquerade was, and like goth culture was still somehow kind of popular. And, I mean, obviously it's still popular in certain internet web rings. Those people probably still use people still use web rings. But energy vampires was like a thing.
Yeah,
it's like a big thing.
There's like MTV True Lifes about stuff like that or some more shit.
So funny,
dude. But seeing Doug Jones in the show was cool because anytime Doug Jones shows up, I get
Can you hear me?
Extra excited because Doug Jones kills it always. For people that decide to torture themselves with Star Trek Discovery, they say that he's the best part, and I imagine that's probably true.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in Halloween Classics too coming up. He's in friggin' Hocus Pocus.
Oh, the new Hocus Pocus 3?
Yeah. No,
2?
What?
Whatever it's coming out.
No,
They're making
he's Billy.
Oh yeah, Billy,
and he's
the grave dude with the mouth.
Yeah, and he's Abe Sapien in Hellboy.
Yeah,
he's the fish that gives the sex to the deaf lady.
Ew.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there's a dude in a suit. It's Doug Jones.
It's always Doug Jones. Well, anyway, we need to talk about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings because we only got about 20 minutes left in the show. So now's the time where we review this movie that we said at the beginning of the show that we were going to review. So here we go. This is a new film from Destin Daniel Cretton, however you want to say his last name. I've never heard it pronounced. I just read it. So it's the new film.
I doubt it's Cretton.
I'm going to call him Cretton just because. But, it's got a star-studded cast. Like, if you were going to put together a cast of Asian American actors or just straight-up Asian actors, then Marvel did it. My problem with Marvel and Disney doing these things is they act like they're the first person to ever do this. And this is where my beef with this movie starts to happen and it's not with the movie. It's with Disney. And, trying to make this movie much like Black Panther, it's like, just make an action movie. Don't try to sell it as a cultural revolution because you're not revolutionaries, Disney. You're doing something that you probably should have been doing 20 years ago. And now that you just have the most money, you're like, well, it's the first big money us one that we've ever did. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's not the first one. And just because you did it doesn't mean it's the first culturally significant one, you pompous sons of bitches. So that's my biggest beef is with Disney, because if you want to talk about culture appropriation for monetary purposes, look at Disney. Like, that's what they do. And they're not doing it because it's a passion project. They're doing it because they're trying to shake money out and pat themselves on the back. So now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about this movie. Initial, I've been talking initial reactions from the group. We haven't really talked about the movie much at all. We both saw it. We didn't see it together. So what did you think?
Too much Aquafina.
Well, that's what you always say.
Too goddamn much Aquafina. Could have done without that. The rest of the movie, I find it hard to pick apart. I don't know. It wasn't so bad. Out of a Marvel movie, not so bad.
Well,
I mean,
you know why? You know why that is? Because it's not a Marvel movie. It's a Wuxia movie. And if you've ever seen, Wuxia, if you want to get, real Chinese about it, they ripped a page right out of the Wuxia playbook, and which is a genre of film that America seemed to forget about at about 2009, 2010, which we were all totally obsessed with from 2000 to 2008. It got so Wuxia that they cast two huge Wuxia hero, like big name actors from the cinema, and that's a good style of movie. And we forgot how fun those movies are, and Marvel was like, let's just do our own. And dude, how do you not like Tony Leung? How do you not like Michelle Yeoh? How do you not like Hua Yun? How do you not like these characters that are just super amazing Asian actors that have just had decades to hone their talents? And then Disney's like, you guys, come over here. We'll hope that nobody here knows who you are, but the ones that do are going to appreciate your talents. And
it's like when I saw Hua Yun, I was like, where do I know this guy from? And I was like, I know him from something. Kung Fu Hustle. Yeah. He plays the bow and arrow master. And honestly, for me, this movie, being the primary lead and co-lead being Simu Liu and Awkwafina,
they kind of fall to the background to me because this has such a great supporting cast. Because to me,
Shang-Chi was like probably the least interesting character in the movie.
well, and he's a comedic actor, and when he tried to have to handle the pressure of the very dramatic scenes that his character, had to deal with, like, it wasn't as believable when you start putting together amazing talents like Tony Leung and Michelle Yeoh, who can just make a face and just relay so much emotion and information on screen than Aquafina and Simo could ever do put together. And that's where I think that this movie is kind of two movies happening at once. There's the Marvel aspect of the Dumb and Dumber buddies, like everything's amazing, and like a silly tourist and the bumbling loser that somehow get thrown into this weird adventure. But the rest of the movie, the Wuxia style of this movie, you go back and for those of you that don't know what that genre is, think the biggest ones in that crossed here in the U.S. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is the one that kicked it out of the park and got us actually addicted to that sort of genre of movies throughout. I mean, the early 2000s. You had Hero, which came out. You had House of Flying Daggers was another really big one that made it successfully over here in the U.S. And then there was another one that was actually pretty good. It was called Curse of the Golden Flower that made it here to theaters. But about that time, and there was a Jackie Chan one that came out. I want to say maybe Forbidden Kingdom. And by that time, it was like starting to. We were starting.
Forbidden Kingdom's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, and
it looks like it'd be really stupid. You're like, oh, some dumb white kid in this movie with Jackie Chan and Jet Li, but then you watch it and you're like, yeah,
I want to be that dumb white kid with Jackie
this
Chan
movie
and Jet Li.
rules.
But there was a decade of darkness where we kind of forgot about Wuxia films, and Marvel just kind of like picked it up out of the basement of American mindset and was like, we're going to give you another one. And I mean, they even went as far as the head stunt coordinator. He was Brad Allen. He was one of the guys that was like one of the right-hand dudes of Jackie Chan's elite stunt team. And he actually passed away not long after making this film. But you see a lot of that influence of very cool traditional HK martial arts, wire work drama, just kung fu operas, and it's pretty fun to watch at certain times. And the fact that so much of this movie, I would say, 30% of it is non-English, which I really appreciated.
The movie opens up in non-English. So.
And I'm not sure what dialect that it was. I mean, I'm
Mandarin,
sure Mandarin or Cantonese, but it was really cool, and it was a little bit jarring to some of the people that I was sitting in because they were like, "Whoa, what? I'm having to read? This is a Marvel movie, huh?" And it went through the whole movie. It wasn't just like an establishing scene at the very beginning where it's like, "Oh, foreign language to establish that it's mystical and not American," and but they kept it running for the characters that don't speak a lot of English. Or their character wouldn't normally speak a lot of English. They're like, well, they just make them not. And I think more movies need to do this. I think it makes the film feel a little bit more genuine and a little bit fun. And so where I think the movie gets a little bit lost is, having to harken back and plug it into the Marvel Universe, where you get the whole storyline of the Mandarin, tying it back to Iron Man 3's mistakes and trying to sweep that up and fix it. And I think that they should have just not. Or was it 2?
2.
3 was
the one with Justin Hammer.
Oh, and the whip arms.
Oh,
guy.
maybe no.
Was that 3?
2 was the whip arm guy.
So I think it was 3. I think it was 3 with the Mandarin.
Oh, Iron Man movies suck.
Well, the first one was okay.
Yeah.
But it where it tried to be a Marvel movie, where it tried to remind us that Thanos is a thing, where it tried to remind us that Doctor Strange is a thing, by injecting Wong in, which I felt was a little bit sort of, again, going heavy-handed. It's like, well, who would Sorcerer Supreme send out? Well, send out my Asian friend. It's like, well, okay, I get it, but Disney, are you just trying to put all your Asians in one basket? Like, how about if you're going to incorporate it in the story, not just plug it in through every Asian connection that you can find. But other than that, like, I thought that the movie kind of held its own, and mainly because of Tony and Michelle holding the whole show. I mean, I've been talking about Tony Leung this whole time. He's the bad guy. Again, good bad guys are sympathetic villains. It makes you feel their story a little bit and find that struggle. And this guy, if you've not watched some of his movies, you know, Chungking Express is one of my favorite movies of his. It came out in the mid-90s. You know, he also was in Hard Boiled, which is one of the best kind of pistol opera HK action movies of all time. Hard Boiled's fantastic, and he's in that movie. And, of course, you've heard me talk about this movie on the show before, In the Mood for Love. He has this range of acting to where he can be super intense and hard in moments, but also be just as soft and thoughtful and you know, tragic in moments with just something as small as a look, and you can see some of the struggle in some of these scenes, and it just shows you how good of an actor this dude is. And
got us a new foreign film boy over
hey
there.
man, I've been a fan of his since I was in high school. Like, him and Michelle Yeoh, but he was in a lot more movies that I had access to at the time, and just, you know, him finally being, I mean, he could set a scene just by rolling up his sleeves in that movie, and you're just like, yeah, I'm sold, dude. Him just walking in with his entourage, and you're just like, yeah, this guy. But that's the power of a good actor, man.
Well, and so Sam asked if we stayed until the end of the credits. I did, and that was really the biggest problem that I had with the movie was the post-credit scenes, primarily the second one. Being
At
Disney,
the very, very, very end.
Disney trying to be very heavy-handed and forceful with something that you don't have to be.
Well, was something that they accomplished with the whole movie.
The entire movie, yeah. So basically, if you've seen Endgame, they did the Endgame thing. They're like, well, what if there was a very overtly girl power scene that feels very forced and not natural at all?
Almost like check Marcus. You're like, need to get that one. Check
And
mark.
it really took away from the rest of the movie because, yeah, they had where Shang-Chi's mom was super badass, his sister was super badass, his aunt kicked the shit out of everybody and was the coolest because she's Michelle Yeoh.
And then even Awkwafina has her moment to shine of being
Sure.
a little bit of badass. And I mean, while it felt a little out of place, it didn't feel forced. It felt like, well, I'm here. I got to help. Like, let me do something.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Well, except for like the 5 preceding seconds before that, where it's like, was that necessary? But
Probably not.
Yeah. But the girl power scene at the end was too forced, and too heavy-handed, and I think it takes away from what they're trying to do because they're just trying to get money.
Get that money.
Yeah,
Like,
they're trying to get noticed. Like, well, look at that. We gave a whole scene to him at the end and talked
And
about
that's-
it through the movie, how it's not fair that the girl wasn't trained the same as the boy.
It's essentially tokenism when you do it that way.
Very
and
much.
tokenism's bad, you guys. If you want to break this, then you got to stop heavy-handed. Just make it feel natural like the rest of the movie did. You know? They didn't need to shove it down my throat that almost every one of the ladies in this movie was a bigger badass than the dudes in this movie, you know? But, you know, and then Disney had to come and murk it all up with corporate whiteness, which is what that is. You know, it's somebody on their team that's going, we better make sure we get a PC. So
Well, and they can do. Disney's done it before. I mean, animated Mulan is super rad. Everyone loves it. Nala was super rad in The Lion King because she showed Simba what the fuck's up. You know, you don't have to like force it.
yeah. You don't. And as Vince said, the ultimate goal of inclusion is it for it to feel like it's normal. When you slam dunk something, it's awkward and a disservice. And that's true. I mean, because you have to understand, like, what is the ultimate goal of inclusion? Is it to make it to where it's something that we don't even think about anymore? Or is it, you know, we have to include so hard that someone's going to feel excluded?
Right.
And
I mean, no one has to point out that Ellen Ripley is fucking badass. You know, there's no
Sarah
need to do
Connor.
that. Yeah, exactly. It just happens, and you're like, yeah,
of course.
this chick rules.
Duh.
So-
Or Daenerys Targaryen, or, you know, like any there's so many awesome that they do it in a way that just you get it, and you're just like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then Disney's just they're trying too hard.
Well, Disney almost like the famous scene in Endgame that we're talking about, where one of the characters literally is like, boys, let's show them what only girls can do. And you're just like, oh my God, for real? Because what
it doesn't make any sense. They're in the middle of a battle and a war, and all of these characters that have never met one another is like, but what if we shared the screen? And it's like, no, that doesn't work. That's not how that works. It's bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than them going like, sit down, ladies, it's a man's job. And it's like, that's the same stuff. And it feels awkward there, and it feels awkward here.
So, and it doesn't, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it by ruining it, but.
Just don't make it so forced. Just do it. It's cool.
The graffiti was unnecessary is all I'm saying.
And that, well, anyway, other than that, this film actually feels pretty interesting. As we'll see where it goes. I mean, I feel like
it does say at the end, Shang-Chi will return. So
well, it says the 10 rings will return.
Oh,
so I don't know what that means. I mean, obviously you've established a character. The interesting thing about this character is it does have a kind of a troubled past. This character kind of rose to popularity in the late 70s after Bruceploitation was such a big thing in the United States, where everything was just like Hong Kong chop suey fooey, everybody was kung fu fighting, which is like kind of not cool by today's standards. But, everything was just like, how do we do Bruce Lee? And this character kind of was born from that. If you go back and do your homework, because I didn't realize that it was going to go Mandarin storyline. I was like, how are they going to do Fu Manchu, which is a super problematic character? Anyway, it's just like this dude straight out of the Zing Dynasty is just like, oh, no, with the mustache. And you're like, no, you can't do that anymore. And so they did. They just kind of erased it and changed some narratives to make Mandarin his father, which was a really tasteful choice, I think. That's good. That was a good way of doing that and telling that story. But it's kind of like reclaiming a problematic character from Marvel's history and giving it some power. But just be delicate with it and don't turn it into just doing the same thing you did in the 70s, but doing it now and saying you're doing it for a good reason when you're still just trying to make money. But it's going to be interesting to see where this character goes, because Wong is developing his own sort of piece of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is kind of this breakout character that they didn't anticipate being as popular as it was, and that's a lot thanks to Benedict Wong just breathing life into this character and making him fun and exciting and like the blend of seriousness and humor that Benedict Cumberbatch can't quite blend, and so Wong kind of stole the show a little bit from Sorcerer Supreme, and that's why you're seeing him a lot. And probably Benedict Cumberbatch is a little bit more expensive, but we'll see where that goes. And I think that this is cool to get some more interesting eccentric characters into these universes that aren't just the sort of Superman style, like Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, because Marvel's got a really interesting problem to solve with everybody wanting more Spider-Man and wanting Spider-Man to be the head of the MCU, but Spider-Man is still owned by Sony. And, Marvel really wants to find a way to make money with this MCU universe, but not have to use Spider-Man.
Especially now that they don't have Iron Man and Captain America, and they're
the big
probably
boys.
Losing Thor soon after Love and Thunder, and they're not going to have their big cash cows up to this point anymore.
Yep, and the law of diminishing returns comes into effect here when you start talking about Avengers-style movies. Is there's only so many big bads out there. I mean, I think the last big, huge super universe ending story you pick two. You've got Galactus and Secret Wars, and it did look like they were teasing Galactus in the Eternals. And the last big Marvel like ultimate thing is Secret Wars, which I think I don't watch a lot of the Marvel TV stuff, but someone said Kang the Conqueror was teased in.
No, not teased. He's there.
Oh, he's straight up there.
He's
so
straight up in Loki.
You talk huge instrumental dude building up to the Secret Wars. It's Kang the Conqueror, and I need to find my Kang the Conqueror action figure. I had when I was a kid because nobody knew what the hell it was. It's just a green dude with a purple head. I was like, dude, this is Kang.
Well, don't expect that. That's not at all what he looks like.
But as Timbo Sippy says, Secret Wars is just so complicated. It
Which
is
version?
complicated. Well, true.
The original Secret Wars, the one that they did where it was the covert X-Force style one, or the most recent one that they did in the comics yet again.
Who knows?
Yep, see.
But we will see where Marvel goes. I don't know. None of us know, but I guarantee you it's going to go where the money goes. Always follow the money. And speaking of the money, we need to talk about the box office roundup before we run out of time for tonight. I'm going to do the 3-day weekend, the Labor Day weekend box office reports, because that's the one everybody's looking at, because everybody's off work and maybe eating barbecue or doing whatever they do right now. But the big one, big dog on campus, clearly the one we just talked about, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, bringing in $90 million this weekend at the box office for the long holiday weekend. Huge numbers for this movie. That beats Black Widow's opening if you add the holiday weekend in there by about $10 million. We'll see what happens next week. I think it's going to have some staying power. Number 2, Free Guy, out there still holding strong with 11.2 million, bringing it up to 94 million in its 4 weeks in release. So
it's 1 month total is what the 1 weekend total is for Shang-Chi.
Like, nice one. Number 3, Jungle Cruise, $5.2 million in its 6th week in release, bringing it up to 106 million. Again, let's put that into context. 6 weeks out, it's still barely made what this film made in 1 weekend.
Yeah, but all 3 are Disney, just bringing in the money.
Yes, Disney. And, the Jungle Cruise sequel, officially greenlit, already starting production. There you go. Number 4, Paw Patrol, the movie, bringing $5.2 million in its 3rd week in release, bringing in $31.5 million to the box office. Number 5, Don't Breathe 2, bringing in $2.7 in its 4th weekend, so far up to $28.5 million at the box office. Number 6, Suicide Squad, in its 5th weekend, only bringing in $1.1 million. So far, a total of $54.6 million for the old DC Warner Brothers world. Number 7, Black Widow, still hanging out there with just under $1 million, bringing up to $182 million in the domestic box office in its 9 weekends in release. I think that we're going to see this new Shang-Chi movie defeat that in the next coming weeks, just based on how the reviews are coming out. Number 8, Night House, so far 3 weeks has brought it in 6.4. Protege in 3 weeks bringing in $7 million, and then Cruella out there for 15 weeks jumping up in the number 10 spot somehow, bringing in $44,000 at the box office this weekend. So $86 million total domestic gross.
Well, and that's kind of wild to see, because I think it was this week or here in the next couple days that it's finally going to be available on Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus, yeah.
So it got a boost at the theater right before it's free.
Yep, it was only playing in but just around 60 theaters nationwide, but it's still out there playing. Yeah. So interesting though, and one little interesting tidbit is that Black Widow was only playing in 750 theaters nationwide. So if you go and do the numbers breakdown and you see the average per theater, it should have been up there around the number 4, number 5 spot, but it just wasn't playing in as many places. So interesting to see what people are going out there and watching. Data's an interesting thing. So anyway, that is your box office roundup for the Labor Day weekend. And Jake, unless you have anything else, I think that's the show, man.
I think that's it.
All right, guys. Yep. Well, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for those subs. Thanks for those cheers, all those fun things over on Twitch. If you're listening to us on the podcast, check us out. Share with your friends. We do appreciate you guys subscribing wherever you find your podcasts. But join us next week live on the show on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, where you can watch our replays over on Facebook and Twitch. So you can check those out. Or, excuse me, YouTube. Twitch doesn't save. It only saves like the last week. Or the last 2 weeks. So maybe if we get enough subs and viewers, it'll save more.
Oh, Vince coming in with some sick emotes.
Oh,
with
man.
The Rock
with the fire hands. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
But thanks, everybody, for tuning in. As always, I'm the Boom Operator.
I am Slick Doggy.
And we will see you guys next week. Check this out.